because the chairperson is not required to make a response to all the contributions that senators are making. As you're aware, at the end of it, the petition will be committed. So if the chair has a contribution to this petition now, as a senator, it's within his right to do so. Secondly, Senator Kinyua, once you raise on a point of order, the first thing you need to do is to state the standing order that you're relying on a point of order. We wouldn't want a situation where senators just stand on a point of order and basically quote nothing. You know, it is good practice that you tell us exactly which particular standing order that you're invoking. That is the practice as given in the standing orders. So Senator Mandago, kindly proceed. It's within your right to contribute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, there are a number of other pertinent issues, and we want to agree with this petition that other than the USC staff, Mr. Speaker, we also have internship programs for the various cadres of health, Mr. Speaker, and some cadres are given stipends during internship. There are others who don't get any stipend, and for those stipends that are being paid, it also varies for the same cadres in the different trainings, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. The reason Ministry of Health has continued to hire workers to perform devolved function is because the ministry in itself is inherent in clawing back on the devolution function, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, the reason counties cannot recruit is because the money that is meant for devolved function is still sitting in our house, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge this House that during the division of revenue, Mr. Speaker, our position as Senate that counties must be given a minimum of 425, Mr. Speaker. The idea of being told there are no funds, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell this House the balance from 425 to 385 is actually in Ministry of Health that is being held in the ministry, continuing to perform functions that are meant to be done by county governments. So it is upon this House, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that the devolved function of health is performed by counties. Mr. Speaker, we cannot continue as a Senate that is supposed to protect devolution to allow the growth of the budget of Ministry of Health exponentially from when devolution started, when the function of health has been devolved. As we speak, we have more than 10,000 health facilities being managed by county governments. The Ministry of Health, the civil servants, the bureaucrats in that ministry must be willing to release the funds they are holding in Ministry of Health. We cannot allow as a Senate to continue allowing ministries to undermine county governments so that counties look like they are unable to perform their functions. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the question of training, which has been a thorn in the flesh, Mr. Speaker, for health workers. Doctors need to go for training. National government are supposed to foot a bill, but they never allow for release of funds for training so that counties look like they don't want to support the health sector to grow. Mr. Speaker, this petition is very pertinent, and I want to say that as the chair of that committee, we shall be well seized of the matter and we shall properly.
Senator Enoch.
Us.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of the petition brought to the floor of this House by Senator Cherage. And Mr. Speaker, before I even make my comments, this goes to Senator Madago. The Wiper Democratic Movement is ready to give him a direct ticket in 2027. He is speaking the language of the people. Mr. Speaker, This matter, Mr. Speaker, of UHC and the way we have treated our medical personnel in this country, it's actually a shame. It is a shame, Mr. Speaker, because we were told the other day we have more than 4,000 medical doctors who are tamarking in the streets. It's a shame. And the solution, as Senator Sifuna said, the solution, the Speaker, is in this Senate. It's not even in the National Assembly. The Speaker, the solution to the problems that are being faced by the health sector in our counties is to ensure that funds follow functions to the counties, Mr. Speaker. And because division of revenue is coming very soon, I see pretensions by a lot of people. People pretending that they can allocate money to counties. Mr. Speaker, the only house that can allocate money to counties is Parliament. The National Executive has no business allocating money to counties. And so when that matter comes to the floor of this House, I want to see the majority side, led by my friend, my brother, Senator of Kericho, putting the right foot forward and making sure that the people of Kericho get proper medical care by ensuring that we send 425 billion Kenya shillings to the counties. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator Kinyua.
Asante Bwana Spika. Hili dua ambalo limeletwa na Senator Cheriot naunga mkono Bwana Spika. Kwa sababu wauguzi wamekuwa wakiwa na shida sana Bwana Spika. Na ukiangalia hili jambo limeanza kitambo Bwana Spika. Nikiwa katika chama, nikiwa katika hiyo kamati Bwana Spika ya Bwana Spika, nimechanganywa kidogo na yule kiongozi wa Wiper ambaye amesema.
Just proceed. Honorable Senators, may the senator be heard in silence, please.
Cherargei ananichanganya Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, mimi naunga mkono dua hilo na kusema ya kwamba wauguzi wanapaswa waangaliwe Bwana Spika. Ukitembea katika kaunti zote zetu za humu nchini, Bwana Spika, wakati kulikuwa na ugonjwa wa COVID, walikuwa wameajiriwa wengi na kukawa na mkataba ambao waliokuwa wamepewa, lakini sasa Bwana Spika, baada ya ule ugonjwa kuondoka, unapata wanaonekana hakuna jambo lolote wanaonekana kufanya Bwana Spika, kulingana na wale ambao wamewaajiri Bwana Spika. Vile tungependa Bwana Spika kama seneti, kwa sababu wameleta malalamishi yao hapa Bwana Spika, wamesema ya kwamba tuyaangalie. Ndiposa Bwana Spika, nilikuwa nimesimama kuuliza mwenyekiti wa kamati ya afya waangalie hayo mambo kwa undani Bwana Spika. Tusianze kuyapapasa haya mambo Bwana Spika, kwa sababu Bwana Spika, hili ni donda sugu, haya ni mambo nyeti ambayo yanapaswa kuangaliwa kwa kina. Bwana Spika, madaktari ni wengi ambao wako katika kaunti zetu, gatuzi zetu Bwana Spika, hawana kazi Bwana Spika. Ukiangalia kwamba wengine tayari wamepewa nambari ambayo kusema ya kwamba wameajiriwa na serikali, kwa hivyo hawawezi wakatafuta kazi mahali pengine Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, ni vizuri kamati ambayo inahusika ishughulikie haya mambo Bwana Spika, kwa sababu watu wanaendelea zaidi kujiunga na hii idara Bwana Spika, ilhali unaona na Bwana Spika wale walioko hawalipwi. Bwana Spika, ukitembea katika kaunti zetu unapata hawa mauguzi Bwana Spika wanafanya kazi nyingi lakini hawalipi Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo wakati hela zinapoletwa hapa katika Senate, tuigawe huo mgao na waweze kuongezewa pesa ambazo zinalipo madaktari wetu. Na Bwana Spika, imekuwa ukiangalia kidogo Laikipia, madaktari walikuwa wamefutwa Bwana Spika. Na nashukuru governor wa Laikipia kwa sababu alirudisha wale, tulishirikiana na yeye tukarudisha wale madaktari Bwana Spika. Na hilo jambo tutaendelea kuliangalia Bwana Spika.
Just hold on, Senator Kinyua. Senator Gloria, you cannot roam the length and width of this house as if you're inspecting a chicken banda for over 10 minutes. I've watched you for the last 5 minutes, pacing up and down. Now I'm going to read this standing order for your benefit. Except we are passing to and from his or her seat, or when speaking, every senator when in the chamber shall be seated and shall not at any time stand in any of the passages and gangways. Kindly proceed to take your seat. Out of order. Proceed, Senator Kenya.
Asante Bwana Spika. Na natumai muda wangu ulikuwa umesimamishwa Bwana Spika ulipokuwa ukitoa. Bwana Spika, mimi nasema ya kwamba ukitembea katika sehemu za Laikipia Bwana Spika, uende na nyuki, unapata kuna madaktari wako pale na wanaendelea kukaa kwa hali ambayo ni duni sana Bwana Spika, kwa sababu mshahara wanaolipwa Bwana Spika hautoshi, na wale ambao ni wako pale wa ziada Bwana Spika, wauguzi wanaishi maisha ya uchochole. Kwa hivyo sina nyuki peke yake, Nyahururu, Kinamba Bwana Spika, Rumuruti, kuna madaktari wengi, hata zahanati zetu zilizoko Bwana Spika walionekana kana kwamba walikuwa wazuri tu wakati kulikuwa na huu ugonjwa, lakini baada ya huu ugonjwa kwenda chini Bwana Spika, inaonekana ni kama wamewachwa na hawaangaliwi. Bwana Spika, kamati hii ambayo inaongozwa na Mandago, ulivalie hili swala njuga, uliangalie kwa kina Bwana Mandago, na najua kwa sababu wewe umekuwa katika zile county, unajua shida hizi madaktari wanazo.
Your time is up, Senator Kenya. Senator Eddie Okech.
It's me. It came out.
Senator Eddie Okech, it's not up to you when called upon to speak to pass it to any senator that you wish. That is a prerogative of the chair. So if you're not willing to speak at this juncture, please do not nominate somebody to speak on your behalf. Senator Mudhama Agnes Kavindu.
Bwana Spika, nakushukuru kwa kunipa nafasi hii nikaweze kuchangia kwa hii mada ambao Senator Cherargei ameleta. Bwana Spika, madaktari ni watu wanafanya kazi ngumu sana, kwa sababu madaktari hata usiku, sisi tukiwa usingizini tumelala, utawapata kwenye hospitali wakihudumia wagonjwa. Na Bwana Spika, ni kweli kabisa madaktari wanastahili kuangaliwa, na kwa hivyo hii pesa ambazo madaktari wanastahili kupatiwa, Ministry ya Health haistahili kupinga chochote kutolewa, kama vile ambavyo imeamuliwa na seneti na parliament. Ni lazima watoe hizo pesa ziende mashinani zikaweze kuhudumia madaktari wetu. Bwana Spika, hakuna watu hufanya kazi ngumu kama madaktari, kwa sababu hata mtu akiwa katika hali mahututi ambao hawezi kukaa kwake nyumbani, utampata anahudumiwa na daktari, na daktari atahudumia mgonjwa mpaka huyo mgonjwa atoke hospitalini akiwa mtu mzima, akiwa anaweza kujisaidia katika hali zake zote. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, hatutaki kuona madaktari wetu kwenye makaunti wakifanya mgomo ili wakaweze kupata pesa ambazo wanastahili kuwa nazo. Hata hali zao kule wanaishi ni hali duni kabisa. Ningeomba hata makaunti wakaweze kuangalia madaktari wanaishi manyumba ya aina gani, ili wakaweze kuwa na amani wakitoka pahali wanaishi, wakienda kazini, wawe ni watu wana furaha na wana amani, wanaweza kuhudumia wagonjwa inavyostahili. Bwana Spika, ni asante, nina support hii motion ya Cherargei.
Senator Methu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support this petition that has been brought to the floor of the House. And I would want to join my colleagues in agreeing to the fact that when you are not well remunerated, and especially a workforce of the nature of medical practitioners, people that have been entrusted in ensuring that they restore the lives of the people of Kenya. If, Mr. Speaker, the people have not been remunerated for such long times as has been elaborated in this petition, Mr. Speaker, and that, Mr. Speaker, they feel, and I am also of that same feeling, that they are not well remunerated. Mr. Speaker, they have cited, Mr. Speaker, that the public Service Commission Human Resource Policy and Procedure Manual for the public service is very clear that the internship program, one, is very legal, and number two, it is run using the relevant provisions of the Constitution and the professional bodies and other policy guidelines. Mr. Speaker, it is not fair that people that we have given such a task, a noble task of ensuring that they substitute or help in the health sector are the ones that are leading in terms of complaint. I want to join the chairman of the health committee in saying that one of the biggest funded, or one of the biggest funding of government is the Ministry of Health. And I would want to agree that this money should and must be sent to the county government so that they're able to take care of this particular sector of the county governments. Mr. Speaker, I do not understand, and I have never understood why, because the fourth schedule is very clear on the duties and functions that have been devolved. If health is a devolved function, why then is the Ministry of Health taking the lion's share of all the government, of all the budget of the national government, of the money that was the top-up from the 385, Mr. Speaker? That money remained with the Ministry of Health. We want that money to be sent to the counties so that, Mr. Speaker, we can bring to a close. Because even if we continue complaining, Mr. Speaker, and we are not sending enough money to the counties, Mr. Speaker, they will not be able to sustain this kind of program. So, Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I want to really implore on my colleagues that
Senator Ledama.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to make some brief comments on this thing. I rise to support the petition on the health workers by Senator Cherargei. Mr. Speaker, this is an opportunity, and I just want to follow with what Senator Matthew has said. I now want to beseech all the members in this House that we now have the opportunity to be able to ensure that our counties are getting money. We have DORA coming, and we know what the National Assembly is doing when it comes to the issue of DORA, division of revenue. We are the ones who divide money between the two arms of government. The issue of these universal healthcare workers, where most of them were being paid a stipend of about 15,000. And the biggest problem, Mr. Speaker, with this issue is that they were already given a number, which if I refer back to the petition, because it's an IPPD number. So wherever they go, it appears if they are employed by the ministry. So they cannot even be employed by anybody else. This is a matter which is alive in our Committee on Health. When I received the petition from these workers, I submitted it to our committee, and we've met those workers. And now we are looking to meet with SRC. We're also looking to meet with the ministry. I think we've already met with the ministry. And ideally, Mr. Speaker, even when we go to Mombasa to meet with the Commission of Revenue Allocation, some of these things are things we need to be able to engage in. We need to send more money to counties. There is no reason why the Ministry of Health should be having billions, money equivalent to 5 counties allocation. That money ought to go to counties, and then we clear this issue of IPPD numbers, remove it in the system, and then allow these individuals to be employed. So, Mr. Speaker, because I see the color is already yellow, I want to say that as a member of the Health Committee, this is a matter that I became very proactive on, and I brought it to my chairperson, who I really have a lot of respect for, because he has stood firm to ensure that at least we bring this thing to a finality. We have to.
Senator Karen Nyamu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The importance of the health sector and the health workers cannot be gainsaid. The other day, I was attending the opening of the first ICU facility in Nairobi by the county government of Nairobi. And one of the glaring issues that came up from the public is the quality of health care that we have in our hospitals. And the quality and the fact that the health workers are not motivated and they're not delivering, and as they claim, they are idling in hospitals and their attitude is wrong. But Mr. Speaker, on the flip side, when I took time with the health workers, they said that, they claim that, and which happens to be true, they claim that the terms of service are not met. They work under deplorable environment. Their wages are not as is supposed to be, and they're not motivated, and their working hours are long. So, Mr. Speaker, it is very important that we look into the welfare of the health workers.
Senator Karen, Senator Kajuang, once you bow and walk in, you go straight to your seat. I can see you behaving like the guest of honor in some Harambe. Greeting everybody, especially the lady senators. Proceed, Senator Nyam.
Mr. Speaker, the working environment of these health workers impact directly on the health services and on the common mwananchi. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this motion by Cherargei so that our health workers' conditions are looked into. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, the 30 minutes meant for contribution to this petition is now spent, and therefore, pursuant to Standing Order 238-1, the petition should be committed to the relevant standing committee for its consideration. In this case, I direct that the petition be committed to the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. In terms of Standing Order 238-2, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading the prayer to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. Now, while the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare gets down to prosecute this petition, if need be, let it co-opt the Health Committee so that we have an in-depth look at the matters raised in this petition. Now, honorable senators, there is a communication that I want to make. The first, actually two communications. The first is to welcome the petitioners. Honorable senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation of representatives from the unions, associations, and societies in the health sector. They are in the Senate as guests of the Senator of Nandi County, Senator Samson Cherargei. Honorable senators, I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. Mr. Kipkorir Kirui, Public Health Officer. Mr. Samrum Derek, Clinical Officer. Mr. Bashir Ali, Clinical Officer. Ms. Lavender Kibitisu, Clinical Officer. Mr. Abdi Fatah Musa, Clinical Officer. Mr. Desmond Wafula, Community Health Officer. Mr. Lawrence Kariuki, a nurse. Mr. Innocent Situma, a nurse. Ms. Lillian Mumina, nutritionist. Honorable senators, order, honorable senators. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish you a fruitful visit. I will allow the Nandi County Senator to make very brief remarks, and that is after I've read the second communication. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation of Class 8 pupils from Riara Group of Schools in Nairobi County. The delegation comprises 6 teachers and 83 pupils who are in the Senate for a one-day study visit. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. After the Nandi County Senator makes his brief welcoming remarks, he will be followed by the Senator for Nairobi County, Senator Sifuna. In that order, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. On your own behalf, I want to extend a warm welcome to colleagues from the associations and unions of health sector, Mr. Speaker, sir. And it is good that they came in when senators were expressing in solidarity. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, we shall find solution to the issue of UHC, issue of health sector, Mr. Speaker, and on the issue of internship and their payment, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I can see some of colleagues of mine and my guests have drawn the attention of some of my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, sir. Jesus Christ said you cannot get to the Father without him. I want to advise Senator Sifuna and Senator Kajwang that you shall not see that kingdom without going through me, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, they can ensure I'm comfortable, Mr. Speaker, and then I can attend to their needs and ensure they access some of the numbers. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, I'm also an alumni of Riara University. I know it's part of Riara Group of Schools. I extend a warm welcome, and I hope we can interact later, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. And Senator Sifuna, you can see me in camera, and Senator Kajwang. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity as well to speak. I do not understand why Senator Cherargei wants to take possession of the leadership of the unions that are here. But just to assure him that we, in fact, as a political movement, have had very close working relationships with the unions, from the KMPDU to the nurses, and we can only use such opportunities to deepen and widen those relationships that are already existing. I want to assure the health workers that at least revenue. It is the responsibility of all of us in this house to find money for you. And I don't think that I will have to go through you to access those unions. Mr. Speaker, allow me also to take this opportunity to welcome students from the Riara Group of Schools. In fact, the most surprising bit of information is that Senator Cherargei is somehow also a product of Riara. There is quite a big difference. When you look at the faces in the gallery there, they speak to the group of schools. This is one of the most established education facilities, in fact, in the whole country. They have built a good brand for themselves. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, I want to notify this House that one of the students there, she's called Abigail Githira, is the daughter to one of our senior clerks here, the deputy clerk, Miss Eunice Gishangi, who was also my lecturer in the University of Nairobi. And I spoke to her yesterday. I know Abigail's parents are outside the country, but she asked me to extend a very warm welcome to Abigail and her classmates. I hope that you enjoy your tour here. And I want to, when you go back home, thank your parents for voting for me as a senator of Nairobi. Mr. Speaker, I wish them a successful tour of the Senate. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I do have another communication to make. Minority Leader and Senator Osotsi. Can you have a seat? There is no standing order that tells you to freeze when the chair is up. You sit, you go have a seat, the next available seat, even if it's not yours, but you take it until the chair is done, then you can resume yours. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a delegation from the Mutembei County Assembly, comprising members of the Committee on Welfare and its Secretariat. The delegation is undertaking a 5-day benchmarking visit in the Senate. I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. The Honorable Doreen Oyugi, Chairperson. The Honorable Kasera Silvans Wanjala, Vice Chairperson. The Honorable Odhiambo Billy Noah. The Honorable Otieno Evelyn. The Honorable Olo David Odhiambo. The Honorable Reuben Odhiambo. The Honorable Odok Paul Owade. The Honorable Lentana Adoto Apopo. The Honorable Nancy Anyango. Mr. Amos Nyandege. Ms. Damaris Ochele. Ms. Mercy Kaula. And lastly, Mr. Calvins Wambalo. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator of Mutembei to make very brief welcoming remarks.
Mr. Speaker, I join you in the House to welcome the delegation from Mutembei County Assembly. And Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the honorable members for choosing to come to the Senate for benchmarking. This is a committee that is charged with the welfare of members. And Mr. Speaker, one interesting thing that is going on around Parliament today is that at the National Assembly, at the facade of the National Assembly, they are putting up a sign. I think that should be the logo or the motto of the National Assembly. And they're saying, for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. It has been wrapped around the facade of the National Assembly. And I want to encourage my friends from Mutembei County Assembly. All of them are people I know personally, Mr. Speaker, including my area MCA, the Honorable Ruben Molo, is also in that gallery. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage them that the Welfare Committee of the County Assembly of Mutembei should not be seen as the end. The welfare of members is not the end. It is a means to an end. And that end is service to society, service to the people of Mutembei. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage my friends from Mutembei County Assembly that they should not be blinded by pursuit of members' welfare at the expense of the welfare of the fisherfolk, of the farmers, of the traders, and of the great people of Mutembei. Mr. Speaker, at least now, Senator Cheriot will also have to go through me if he wants to interact with any of the MCAs from Mutembei, particularly those of the other gender. So if you need connections, Senator Cherargei, you have to go through me. Mr. Speaker, I beg your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. I beg, because my sister, Senator Beatrice Ogola, has worked in Mutembei County Executive as a member of the County Executive for 10 years. It will be remiss, Mr. Speaker, if my sister Beatrice does not get an opportunity to say one word. Therefore, out of my 2 minutes, I donate 1 minute to Honorable Beatrice Ogola, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kajuang.